Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? New Orleans Saints held a rookie minicamp this past weekend, but as is often the case during rookie minicamp, teams will bring in veterans. They're allowed to bring in veterans on a tryout basis, just so you can have, it helps to have more bodies out there for practice, but it also gives you an opportunity to take a look at some veteran players that are free agents, maybe trying to earn a roster spot. And that was the case for several players who were trying out with the New Orleans Saints, several veterans, I should say, with NFL experience who were trying out for the New Orleans Saints. Chief among them was Donovan Peoples-Jones. And if I were to say, coming out of the draft, the biggest question, problem, issue, concern, reaction, however you want to say it, was the New Orleans Saints came out of the draft not selecting a wide receiver. And it was something we talked about a lot going into the draft. Remember, you had Chris Olave, 6 foot 187. Rashid Shaheed, 6 foot 180. You go sign Brandon Cooks, 5'10", 189. Like, you've got three dudes that are all the same. You needed a big-bodied receiver. If for nothing else, just to give a defense something different to look at to create a mismatch. I mean, you've got Bub Means, who's 6'2", and Cedric Wilson, who's 6'2", and Kevin Austin, who's 6'2", in respect to those guys. But I don't think any of us are expecting those guys to be impact players on your offense, which is something I and many of us all assumed for a team that was just aching for offensive skill, talent that they were going to do in the draft. They didn't. Here was Mickey Loomis after the draft, by the way, on not selecting a wide receiver.
Going into the draft, there were some receivers that we really liked and we hoped that we'd have the opportunity to get, and it just didn't work out. So I think that's probably the one position that going into the draft you'd like to have, but when you follow your board and you take the value presented to you, and I think there was a couple times when we thought we were going to get a receiver at a particular slot, and that guy got taken a few picks in front of us, so it just didn't work out.
So it didn't work out, and it left the Saints still needing a receiver, and so they invited Donovan Peoples-Jones to work out at Saints rookie minicamp, and apparently it went well. 6'2", 204, so this is a bigger receiver than the guys you got, and he's been in the NFL for a handful of years. He was drafted in 2020 as a sixth rounder out of Michigan and played for the Cleveland Browns, and then was traded in 2023 from Cleveland to Detroit. And then this past year in Detroit in 2024, didn't play a game, spent the season on Detroit's practice squad, was let go, and now he's signed here in New Orleans. And I will say, boy, it's tough to break through in Detroit. Like, you want to talk about having legit receiving threats. Remember, Detroit's got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams. So they got 2,000-yard receivers on that team, plus Jahmyr Gibbs, who's a great receiving threat out of the backfield, Sam Laporta at tight end. I could understand why someone may struggle to break through and get targets on that team. But remember, it was Cleveland back in 2020 that drafted Donovan Peoples-Jones. Their coach, Kevin Stefanski, a couple of years after that, when Peoples-Jones was entering his third season in the NFL. This is what Stefanski said back then.
Really, since the day we got him, as you guys know, we've talked about how dependable he is and he does what he's supposed to do and he's where he's supposed to be. But I do see his game growing. I think his body control, catching the ball and contested catches has never been tough on for him. That's just one of the traits that he has. But in and out of breaks, some of the things we're asking him to do are maybe a little bit different than he's done in the past, and he's done a great job. And I think the quarterbacks like throwing to him. I think that's important as well.
I think it's important to note, it's a sixth rounder that made the team as a rookie in 20 in the COVID year, made it again in 21, made it again in 22, made it again in 23, and then was traded to Detroit, and then just saw his opportunity drop there in Detroit. This was Dan Campbell, by the way, before 2024 in Detroit on the expectation for Peoples.
It was to come in here and compete for that third, fourth receiver. So that's kind of what we were looking for. And he's a guy I expect more out of too, and he knows that. Now, he's working. He works at it, man. He wants it. But we just need him to take another step here.
And apparently that didn't happen. Spent the 2024 season on the practice squad, ultimately was let go, and now he's in New Orleans with an opportunity to make a team that isn't very deep at receiver. So I'll continue to say, why not re-sign Marquez Valdes-Scantling? That's a guy who played 8 games for you a year ago after you had the injuries. In those 8 games, 35 catches, 385 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was your home run threat, and he was a bigger-bodied receiver. He ended up signing with Seattle on a 1-year deal. You end up instead signing Brandon Cooks, an aging, declining player in a multi-year deal when you had Marquez Valdes-Scantling in your building. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but here's a do-over with Donovan Peoples-Jones. We'll see if he can make it. So the Saints had a receiver, but they also had a safety in veteran Terrell Burgess. Burgess is an interesting story as well because this is another young veteran who is 26 years old. He was a third-round pick of the Rams back in the COVID year in 2020 and ended up playing 30 games before he moved on to the Giants in 2022 and then Washington in 2023. So a guy that's been around the league. But listen, the Saints a year ago were bad at one safety spot. Tyron was very good. Led your team in tackles, or it was second behind Demario Davis in tackles, and then Tyron's PFF grade was 81.3. Tyron still had a very good productive year. The spot opposite him was really a challenge. And Jordan Howden just hasn't really emerged as you hoped he might as a former 5th-round pick out of Minnesota. So you signed Justin Reed to a 3-year, $31 million deal. You draft Jonas Sanker out of the University of Virginia in round 4, which they seem to think is great value there. But they still felt like they had to go add more. And so now you brought in Terrell Burgess. Again, he was on a tryout basis, and you signed him. And if nothing else, this is going to add competition. Look, Burgess is a guy that's 26 years old. He's a former 3rd-round pick. He's a young veteran. He knows success. He was on the Super Bowl team with the Rams in 2021. So he's been to and won a Super Bowl. And he's also seen the other side of it, being on a pretty bad Giants team. So I look at it as young veteran depth to piece that room together, where you got a veteran in Tyrann Mathieu, you've got your free agent acquisition in Justin Reed, you drafted Jonas Sanker, and now you have a young veteran as well, sort of to complement Jordan Howden. It's probably a situation where those 3 guys are going to be competing for maybe that last roster spot at safety. So we'll see how it goes. For whatever it's worth, Sean McVay, who, of course, was head coach of Rams, who drafted Terrell Burgess, talked about him before training camp a couple years ago.
He's got a versatile skill set. He's a guy that has the ability to play, that star, that nickel position. He can play safety. He's a guy that he's even bumped outside in, some situations at Utah. We played corner, but it's been great seeing him healthy. He's just got such a great demeanor, great energy. He's one of those guys that always has a smile on his face, but he's tough. We're expecting good things from Terrell this year.
That versatility may be what can win you a job. If you can play nickel, star, safety, even outside corner where he played in college, that versatility and special teams, of course, is how you win a roster spot. Maybe that'll be Terrell Burgess's path to the field. So for what it's, by the way, the corresponding moves, the Saints waived safety Millard Bradford and running back Jordan Mims. So those are the corresponding moves for adding Donovan Peoples-Jones and Terrell Burgess. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.